Welcome to Frank and Upfront. I am your host, Mr. Franklin. A very special welcome to all of you who are joining me here on this podcast. I invite you to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell to be notified of weekly uploads. If you wish to advertise on Frank and Upfront, please email me at frankandupfrontpodcast@gmail.com. If you wish to donate to my channel, you can do so via PayPal at Frank and Upfront. Frank and Upfront is moving to a new channel. It is the one with the golden microphone at the bottom of this picture. Starting November 1st, Frank and Upfront will be uploading exclusively to the new channel, which means that the weekend of October 25 will be the final podcast on the original channel. We only have one more week to go before my final podcast on that channel. Please support the new channel today. Frank and Upfront is now on Medium. Medium is an online magazine founded by the creators of Twitter, where for paid subscription, your articles can be read, for which you will receive a share of the subscription costs. This is my most recent article on that platform. Your support is much appreciated. This week's topic: is it worth it to sell your soul for a paycheck? Now, we live in a world where people live at their jobs and visit their homes. And by the time they get home, it feels like, at the very least, it feels like 3 weeks. It feels like they've been gone for like 3 weeks, and the kids barely even recognize them. They barely pay the kids any attention. Sometimes they probably even continue working from home from off their phones or laptops. Then they continue checking their email on their phones while they're eating at the dining table. They shower, barely get like 3-4 hours sleep before they're heading back out again. Even worse than that, they don't even eat at home. They have all their meals away from home, in restaurants where strangers are cooking for them, and you cannot trust the intentions of said strangers. Eating at home more often and eating out more rarely reduces the chances of potential food poisoning that comes as a result of eating at restaurants, but they don't seem to care. They are more so married to their jobs than they are married to their spouses and committed to their families. And yes, they may provide a wonderful life for their families, but then one has to wonder what happened over the past 60 or so years, how we've become so far removed from the nuclear family as was being depicted on the popular sitcom Leave It to Beaver, where you have a patriarchy, Then you have the housewife who cleans and cooks, and the husband comes home and the wife meets him at the door with his pipe and slippers in hand and gives him a kiss, asks him how his day went. How did we get from that homely, suburban kind of life to this fast paced 21st century married to my job, visit my home, and actually brag about it in social media hashtags? Right? Shameless, actually proud of it and totally shameless. How do we get to that? Anyhow, um, people are running very low on energy because of their new lifestyle choices. So much so that the typical routine, well, let me say it this way, the routine in a typical day for the typical American office staffer goes something like this. Wake up, groggy. Man, I gotta be up right now. I gotta go to work today. Dang. Man, I'm running late. Oh damn, man, do I even need this job? Do I need this job? Man, I feel like calling out today. I don't want to go to work, man. I feel like calling out today. Damn, my coworkers are annoying. Everything. Oh man. Shit, I wish I could stay asleep till at least 9. Right? Man, I need this job, man. I gotta pay the bills and buy food and man, I don't want to be homeless. Let me let me let me get my ass up, man. Go to work. All right, so they get up and shower and commute to work, and they're not even fully awake. They're half asleep. You know you're not you when you're tired, right? So they're in a zombified mental state. They're in a zombified state, and they're being propped up on the epinephrine of coffee and donuts or bagels with cream cheese. Just by the way, bagels with cream cheese donutizes a bagel which is far more bland flavored than a donut. So they're in a zombified state and they're kind of propped up on caffeine and sugar. So now they got a caffeine rush and a sugar rush going on, and they're awake enough to answer calls and function at work, but they don't even want to be there. And all they need is coffee and a bagel and I'm good. No, you need that real breakfast. You need that heavy breakfast, coffee and bagels, and you're good. You sound like a drug addict. That's a drug right there. Caffeine and sugar. You're on a caffeine and sugar rush. What do you mean you good? What do you mean you good? You're not good. You need that big breakfast. You need that starch, that beef, that stew beef with potatoes and carrots and broccoli in it. That good stuff. And that lima bean, that's what you need. You don't need to be propped up on no coffee and bagel. The hell is he talking about? Right? But they convinced that that's all well, they're not convinced. They managed to convince themselves that that's all they need and they're good. I just need a coffee and bagel and I'm good. No, you're not good. But keep kidding yourself by all means. You're not good, but keep kidding yourself. You're heading for a crash. You better take it easy. You're heading for a crash. Right? And then they have enough caffeine and sugar epinephrine in their system to keep them propped up enough to take calls and function at work until around 12:30 when they take their lunch break and they maybe have something less than healthy. But what makes it unhealthy is that they eat these foods every day. Nothing is wrong with if you have a burger and some chicken strips every once in a blue, but every day, that's not even healthy. But they eat, and because the chicken strips and fries are so cheap, they eat that every day. It costs less than $10 and they save their money. Nothing wrong with saving your money, but it probably shouldn't be at the expense of your health. Because then all that money you've been saving is going to go right into your medical bills if you should get sick as a result of you starving yourself of nutrients that you need, nutrient dense meals. For some of these people, the only nutrient dense meals they have is when they're actually home at night for dinner. Which, by the way, that's another story. So I guess they probably have like uh, chicken strips and fries for like $8-10 on most days. Then on the eve of their paycheck on Thursday, right? They're eating ramen noodles. They probably go to Walmart and buy the 12 pack of ramen noodles and kind of throw one in the lunch box on their way to work. And they're kind of going through an austerity measure because it's not payday yet and they're broke already. So they're eating ramen noodles on Thursday, but if you check their closet, you got Jordans falling off the top shelf. Oh. Oh. Okay, I'm good. You got Jordans falling off the top shelf, Jordans in a pile falling out the pile on the ground. They don't need that many Jordans. There are more Jordans in their closet than they will ever need in a lifetime. What are you doing with so much sneakers? But yet you're at work eating ramen noodles on the eve of payday, though, right? That's not funny, but it's deserving a laugh because that's stupidity. Starving yourself to get a Jordan collection. And Michael Jordan done rich already. Him done rich already. So that's stupid. You're addicted to something being sold to you by someone who's already rich. You think Michael Jordan is eating ramen noodles on the eve of payday? You think so? Anyhow, so on payday now, payday might be the one day they treat themselves to something actually substantially sustainable. Um, Payday is the actual rice and peas and oxtail day where they eat rich. True story. They eat rich. But then by Monday, they're back to their chicken wings and fries again. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, chicken wings and fries. Thursday's ramen noodles, and Friday on payday, we're back to the oxtails again. And the cycle repeats itself. You're in a cycle. Don't you want to break free from that cycle? Hmm? So anyway, I guess they're finally fully awake when they get back from their lunch break at 1. And they're more of themselves again. And then they finish working around 5 or 6, commute home in these long commutes on these overcrowded subway cars, packed to capacity like sardines in a can, or on these overcrowded LA freeways going in stop and go traffic. Either or. Right? Get home and they might That's the one time they actually have a home cooked meal all day when they're home for dinner. But then it's still not nutrient dense because they're rustling up something quick. They're rustling up the Goya rice with the um or some mac and cheese and put ketchup on the rice and maybe open up a can of tuna. The tuna might be the only nutrient they have all day, even though it's in a can, and the can, the brine, which is a preservative chemical similar to embalming fluid, is what's being used to preserve the tuna. So you're eating something synonymous with embalming fluid. That's not going to be good for you. The tuna was already nutrient dense. Then they had to kind of compromise the tuna with the preservative, the brine. So, and that's how they're eating. And all of this for what? Expensive apartments they can't afford? All these Jordans and clothes and shoes to impress people they don't even like? To compete with people who they neither like, nor do these people care if they have these things or not? The competition is all in their heads, but not those who they're trying to impress. How stupid is that? And the funny thing is, the labor capitalists, they know the mentality. They fund TV commercials advertising this lifestyle choice. They fund rap videos advertising this lifestyle choice. And by the way, it's always our people. It's always black and brown people. I don't see white people doing that. It's always black and brown people doing that. We are always the ones who get caught up in buying the elements of popular culture sold to us by the mainstream press as if it was something cool. But this is how you pay for it, though. You pay for it by packing to capacity in a subway car like sardines in a tin, going to a job we hate, in a zombified state, barely awake, propped up on sugar and caffeine, barely functioning, can't stand our coworkers, think they're annoying, but we need the money, so we slave away at some job we hate just to earn a paycheck to facilitate a lifestyle choice we can't even afford to impress people we don't even like. We're the only ones who do that. You know what? The stress is too much. And if the stress is too much, I can't afford that shit, man. I cannot afford that. If the stress of maintaining that life is too much for me, I cannot afford that. It's too expensive. It's too much stress. Even if I'm getting the money. Even if I'm getting the money is too expensive if it comes at the cost of my peace of mind or even my very health. But anyway, this lifestyle choice is sold to us in popular culture that's funded by the labor capitalists, funded by um, the merchants, the retail capitalists, to have us work these jobs on these labor camps to barely get paid to afford things, materialistic items that we don't even need, that the only reason why we want it is because it was sold to us, and then we look next door and someone we know is wearing those shoes and we want them too. Which is a very elementary kind of way to look at the world. That's a very elementary way for adults to look at the world. No offense to elementary graded children, by the way. Very, very elementary way for adults to look at the world. You're gonna run yourself sick through a system that doesn't care about you to buy shoes you can't afford because you saw someone else wearing them and decided you want them too. or you saw someone you don't like wearing them, and you want to top that because you can't stand to see them wearing those shoes or wearing that jacket. It's too cool for them. You want that jacket, or you want to have better than what they have because in your mind you're competing. But as I said before, the competition only exists in your mind. That other person is probably not even thinking along those lines. You're the only one who's thinking like that. And little do you know that when you constantly put yourself through that kind of stress on the daily, you are compromising your very soul, right? Waking up prematurely, being frightened out of your sleep by an alarm clock, interrupting REM phase, interrupting a delicate sleep cycle, waking up in the middle of a sleep cycle, compromises your soul. Because I am of the belief that when you are asleep and you're dreaming, your soul becomes awake. It becomes awake and it leaves your body and go venture out into the world and visit who it wants to visit. And if you can lose a dream, you can control yourself in the dream. You can control the avatar of your dream, similar to how you would use a game console to control the avatar on your video game. Say, for example, Call of Duty, right? So when you fall asleep, your soul wakes up. That's why the system wants to deprive you of sleep. Because the less you sleep is the less contact you have with the spiritual realm. And therefore, the less enlightened and the less awakened you are, and the less on your destiny you are. The system literally wants to zombify you. Anyway, as I was saying before, when you fall asleep, your soul wakes up. When you're dreaming, your soul has left your body, but no, you're not dead. You're half dead. You are half dead, but there is still a lifeline that connects your soul to your body. And your soul, connected to that lifeline to your body, ventures out into the world, visits who it wants to visit, visits a secret crush, visits a relative it really misses dearly, visits um somebody it really wants to curse out and argue with, somebody is still mad at for whatever reason. Or if it has something, if the soul has a burning issue on its chest, it wants to tell somebody something, the soul will visit and stalk that person just to tell them that one thing. And that usually happens. You dream during REM phase, right? So that usually happens during REM phase. But if your alarm goes off during REM phase, it interrupts whatever you were dreaming about. What if you were dreaming about your destiny? What if you were getting the answer to a burning question that would lead you on the right path towards fulfilling your destiny? When the alarm goes off during REM phase, it interrupts that spiritual transference, wakes up the physical body, pulls your soul back into your body. And so, therefore, you're disconnected from potentially vital information that could save your life forever. Right? What if you were dreaming about a deceased elder within your family who was about to dish some family secrets, or who was about to reveal the location of where gold was buried, or who was about to reveal whose name would get called up in the will, or something like that, that could make you stop working forever because now you're rich? Hmm? Well, now you've been cut off from vital information because your alarm went off. Because apparently you need to wake up and go to a job to slave yourself out for a pair of sneakers. Because apparently many of the people in today's world are shamelessly on Facebook and Twitter hashtagging the word sneaker junkie, hashtag sneaker hoe. What is proud to be a hashtag sneaker hoe about? You tell me that now. At the very expense of your spiritual connectivity that could put you on the right path, put you on your destiny, and have you set for life. Make it make sense, people. Anyhow, so when the alarm interrupted during REM phase, not only were you cut off from your potential destiny, but also on the physical level, your brain is sleep deprived and you're groggy, and that's what causes you to be in that zombified state. Being cut off from vital sleep and depriving your brain of sleep by interrupting your sleep in the middle of REM phase. For those who don't know, REM stands for rapid eye movement. The eye moves rapidly when you are dreaming because the mind is awake. No, that's not true. I'm sorry. The soul is awake, the mind is asleep. The soul's awake, and the eyes are scanning and looking around in whatever universe you're in. Your eyes are looking around, having an experience. So it's rapid eye movement or REM phase. But on the physical level, if if your sleep is interrupted during REM phase, it doesn't matter if you've been sleeping for 15 hours, you're still going to wake up groggy and sleep deprived because you did not complete that latest in a series of sleep cycles. Corporations want the masses to remain in a zombified state. That's why they're pushing the early bird catch the worm, alarm clock wakes you up concept on you, and you bought it. Nothing wrong with being an early riser. Early is more productive, but rise early within reason. I think 7 or 8 a.m. is a reasonable time to rise. But when they want you to wake up at like 3:30, 4 o'clock to get to a job at 6:30, that's slavery. They're not paying you enough to wake up before sunrise. That is freaking slavery, people. And corporations want you sleep deprived and zombified and they want to keep you in that state, keep you tired, keep you overworked, keep you working overtime, keep you away from your families, keep you interrupting your REM phase by an alarm clock, to keep you sleep deprived and keep you disconnected from your spirituality. Now, my question to you, is it worth you selling your soul for a paycheck? Because in essence, that's kind of what you're doing. You maybe didn't go off the back road, off the beaten track, run by the crossroads and have some strange hooded fella in a black hoodie tune your guitar, and then the next thing you know, you're the greatest guitar player of all time. That's not what you did, but you still, in essence, you kind of still sold your soul if you are disconnecting from your spirituality and your potential destiny, and even compromising your actual sleep health and mental health over a paycheck just to buy something as superficial as sneakers to impress people who don't even care. Now, if you were not born rich, I'm not saying quit your job. You need to pay bills, right? You need to pay rent to keep a roof over your head. You need to pay your utilities to keep the lights on. And you need to buy groceries so you don't starve in your house. And obviously, you need to buy new clothes when the old ones go bad. But don't slave yourself out over a paycheck. Work within reason. As a matter of fact, if you have to work, I would say work the afternoon shift. The afternoon shift, you get there around maybe 1 or 2. You work afternoons into evenings. You get off at 10. You're home by 10:30. You're in bed by 11. And you can sleep throughout the night, wake up whenever you want in the morning, and eat before you actually get to work. Eat something wholesome. Eat a big, wholesome, nutrient-dense breakfast. You know where I'm from in Jamaica, we used to that big ackee and saltfish breakfast with the fried dumplings and the festival breads and the fried breadfruits, or sometimes maybe um, liver and yellow yam with green banana and all those nutrient-dense, rich foods. You got the iron, your protein, your fiber, potassium, all of those um, nutrients. Your breakfast, your Jamaican breakfast is packed with all of those nutrients, point blank period, hands down. So you are eating healthier, you have more natural energy, right? Sometimes you maybe eat like saltfish fritters with like I guess what's that one? Or broad bean and like saltfish, or you know. But anyway, we have a big wholesome breakfast, lots of naturally occurring energy. We probably slept well, so we wake up with already natural energy. Then we eat that good food. And we have more energy to go throughout the course of the day. And, most Jamaicans are laid back, really, that Ivy life. So we're not even stressing over money and work like that, like over here. And then to come over here now to America and see people stressing over money and jobs and status and corporations that their kids will never inherit. and thinking that they're good, being propped up on caffeine and sugar, and they're not good. And they swear up and down they're good, right? And you can't argue with them. But then catch them on Thursday before payday and they're eating ramen noodles and they think they're good. Anyway, I shall mind my business. To each his own. But to see that paradigm shift, though, it's a culture shock to me. I wasn't done with that. And I was not done with that. So, while I was still working, I would always ask for the afternoon shift or the spring shift. So I could wake up whenever I want, eat a big wholesome breakfast that I'm familiar with before leaving the house and going to my job. And while I'm at work, I'm not stressing. I'm just chilling and living that Irish life and not really stressing. As long as I do my job and they were happy with me, I didn't really care about going the extra mile and doing all the extra stuff, you know? Because I was not about joining that rat race. Getting up on my bed early in the morning, earlier than usual, some ungodly hour before sunrise, some 4 o'clock, to catch the 5 o'clock bus, to get there by 6:30, I wasn't done with that shit. To join some rat race. At first, when I was young and impressionable, when I first arrived in New York when I was like 19, yeah, I wanted to experience it. Yes, I wanted to be part of it. I wanna be part of it. New York, New York. But then after a while, it starts wearing on me, and I decided it wasn't really worth it. I've been there and done that. I was used to it. And I decided to fall out the rat race and go back to the Irish living I was already familiar with and adhere to my Jamaican upbringing. So I would always ask for the afternoon shift. But if you like working mornings, then and if you like if you gotta wake up early mornings, which by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you gotta wake up early mornings, then wake up after sunrise. What about 7:30, 8 o'clock? That's the ideal wake up time, especially if you're working from home. 7:30, 8 o'clock is the ideal wake up time. And if you've been sleeping since like 11 o'clock the previous night, trust me, you're good. You have been sufficiently slept. Try and wake up naturally without the alarm clock. Wake up towards the end of a sleep cycle so that you're not interrupted during REM phase and wake up groggy and wake up zombified and wake up a different person from your true self. And the real reason why you wake up so zombified is because you have been in the spirit realm, disconnected from your soul, disconnected from at least a fragment of your soul. Your main soul is keeping your body alive, but because you were rudely interrupted during soul travel, during lucid dreaming, you've been disconnected from a small fragment of your soul. A little small part of you died. So that's why you wake up zombified. That's why you wake up a different person. And it takes a while to kind of come back into your true, authentic self. That can't be worth you slaving for a paycheck over, right? Yeah, so, I mean, you know something very interesting as I talk about that, so you have like an app that will listen to your snoring and your breathing pattern and know when you're near the end of a sleep cycle. Alarm clocks are set to go off um, as it senses that you are near the end of a sleep cycle, so it does not interrupt your REM phase. Now, it has its pros and its cons, but what I don't like about that is that it's very invasive. There is a creepy app developed by a creepy app developer that's listening to you breathe while you sleep and know your sleep habits, know your sleep cycle, and know when to trigger the alarm clock to wake you up. I don't like that. I'm all against surveillance in the privacy of one's domain. So you could either do that temporarily until you train yourself and know when to wake up, when your sleep cycle will end, and so forth. Or you could try and figure it out on your own from the jump and kind of eliminate that app altogether. But whatever you do not wake up before sunrise for one of these corporations. The ideal wake up time should be 7:30 or 8 in the morning when it's after sunrise, at least an hour after sunrise. And you should only wake up between sleep cycles and not during a sleep cycle, not during REM phase. Now, as far as jobs are concerned, jobs are supposed to be a temporary situation for you to take notes and learn all you need to learn about starting your own business while also saving business capital for starting your own business. Figure out what you want to do and actually do it. Now, you see, if you were eating ramen noodles to save business capital to quit your job and start your own business, that would have been different. I would not be laughing. I guarantee you, Mr. Franklin would not be laughing. I am laughing because you're saving not for business capital, but to buy Jordans. How juvenile is your thinking? I would not be laughing if you were saving up your business capital. That's admirable. But you're saving to buy Jordans? I mean, it's your money, do what you want, but you could have been smarter about it. Your kids are not going to get richer for having inherited those Jordans, but they will get richer though for having inherited your business. Buying a pair of Jordans will neither help you nor your kids. And you don't want to be slaving at nobody's job for the rest of your life till you're 60 years old and retired, anyways. And then you don't want to end up in your 70s and beyond being some Walmart greeter because you didn't make hay while the sun shines. You squandered your youth away buying Jordans, working for people's jobs for 30, 40 years, have no savings, no 401k plan, no retirement plan, nothing, no business capital, no business of your own, no investment, nothing like that. And then at 65, you're retired, broke, and forced to be a Walmart greeter? Wow, that sounds like an interesting life. That sounds like a very interesting life. I hope you're happy. But if you're not happy and you want to change your life, um, if you're eating ramen noodles at work every day until payday, then make sure that you're doing it to start your own business and save business capital as opposed to feeding a stupid sneaker addiction or weed addiction or whatever other kind of addiction you got going on there. Make sure you're prioritizing the reason why you're going through an austerity measure at work. Ultimately, the goal should be to start your own business so you don't have to work at these people's oppressive jobs any longer. endure things that are unfavorable or less unfavorable, and stuck there because you don't have any money of your own to branch off and do your own thing. You have to take directions and in some cases even disrespect. You gotta sit there and take disrespect from people because you don't have your own shit. And you shouldn't want to live like that, at the expense of your very soul, just to buy a pair of Jordans or feed a sneaker addiction. Get your priorities straight. COVID-19 is an opportunity to have you reevaluate and rethink where you're going moving forward. Do some soul searching and ask yourself, is it worth you selling your soul for a paycheck? Now, as for how long you should work while saving the capital, ideally I would say 3 years, but no more than 5. Hear me out now. Ideally 3 years, but no more than 5. You can forego buying a car and catch the bus instead for those 5 years until you actually start your business. Then after you start your business, then you could think about what kind of car you want, and then you could buy the car cash unless you have a real emergency like I did, and you were stranded in a remote part of town, getting off the graveyard shift and Ubers kept canceling on you. Then you could maybe buy a little cheap Camry or whatever it is, pre-owned Camry, until you buy the car you actually want. That is the only exception in case of a real emergency. But if you're not stranded and you're in a place like downtown surrounded by buses, catch a bus or a train, forget the car until after you start your own business. Then you could buy a car cash. The car of your choice, cash. It's worth the wait. But don't put yourself in debt while you are saving your business capital. As far as a credit card is concerned, however, yes, you can get a credit card, but try and not run up the limit past 2,000 because you could use that credit card to purchase inventory for your business. So it would always come in handy while you're also building credit as well, you know. So if used responsibly, having a credit card is not a bad deal. But you have to use it responsibly, and you have to use it as capital to buy inventory for your business or to aid with whatever other resources that you need for your business. But don't use a credit card carelessly and always pay your bill on time when it's due. And you should be good. Do not abuse the credit card. Respect the credit card, and the credit card will respect you. And by the way, here's an extra tip. If you pay more than the minimum balance due per month, you could reduce the interest rate on your credit card. True story. You could totally reduce the interest rate on your credit card. So that's one surefire way to pay less and keep more for yourself. And all that comes from being fiscally responsible and foregoing a shameless sneaker addiction. Okay, now we are about 2 or so weeks away from election. Elections are coming up on Tuesday, November 3rd. That is about 2 or 3 weeks from now. Now, there's a very important proposition on the ballot. And this is as it pertains to independent delivery drivers who work for app companies like Uber Eats, like Postmates, DoorDash, Grubhub, Lyft, where this prop is called Prop 22. Now, Prop 22 is suggesting that independent drivers for these companies are not employees, therefore not entitled to benefits like unemployment or health insurance or 401k or other benefits that regular staffers have. Now, delivery drivers are already, as it is, independent contractors. The state of California, and by the way, Prop 22 is only unique to California, not the other states, but California has a track record of being the first state to pass new innovative measures. And whatever happens in California is bound to ripple its way through the rest of the country and, in fact, the whole world. But California is usually the battleground for beta testing new ideas. So, Prop 22 is a California measure on the ballot that maintains the pre-existing conditions under which independent drivers are allowed to use the app. Apps like Uber and Lyft and so forth. If you vote yes, nothing changes and delivery drivers are maintain their independent status. Vote no, and independent drivers become employees, which means you have to pay them a livable wage, at the very least minimum wage, which as of this past January, I believe was what now? $13? Something like that. $12 or $13, I can't remember right now. So then you have to pay them at least $13 an hour. And you have to classify them as either part-time 20 hours or full-time 40 hours. You have to pay them a sustainable, livable wage. That's what that transfers to. A sustainable, livable wage. They'd also be entitled to health benefits, 401k retirement funds, and most importantly, unemployment insurance. Here's why that's most important. Each individual trip on these apps, especially on Postmates is the worst. They fund all of these expensive commercials pushing their agenda for people to vote yes on Prop 22 so they can keep exploiting their drivers. They pay top dollar for all these glossy, well-packaged internet commercials with all these celebrities on there advertising Postmates. Celebrities like Martha Stewart and like Iggy Azalea and all these celebrities. You know how much money they pay these top name A-listers to appear in a 30-second commercial? And they have money to pay all these A-listers to appear in their commercial. And to push the agenda for voters to overwhelmingly vote yes on Prop 22, to keep exploiting their drivers, but yet they don't have the money to pay their drivers to pay their drivers a sustainable wage. Well, what that tells me is that it isn't that they can't pay them, they don't want to pay them. Their priorities are somewhere else. They focus on the advertisement, but not on the actual delivery of product and services, both for their customers and their drivers. Drivers driving 5-10 miles only getting $3 per trip, 258, 275, 313, numbers like that for a 5 mile trip. As far as I'm concerned, no trip should cost less than $5. It is a criminal exploitation of their drivers. Their drivers are not paid a sustainable wage. And they drive upwards of 100 miles a day. That's 500 or 700 miles a week. And they're not reimbursed for gas. Sometimes they're on the road for 10, 12 hours a shift, 10, 12 hours a day, rather, a day, to make anywhere upwards of $100, and they still don't even come close to 80. Right? Still don't come close to 80, aiming for 100, barely scratching the surface of 80. Not reimbursed for gas, not reimbursed for meals, and because they are out there 12 hours a day, they don't have time to cook. So they buy meals on the road, and they're not being reimbursed for gas or their meals or their mileage, and they're being disrespected with 258, 313 and all those numbers for 5 miles or greater, when in reality no trip should cost less than $5. But I understand why they do it that way. That is an incentive to push drivers to take more trips and more orders. I should say, really and truly, to accept more trips and accept more orders to help to make the number up and help to make the daily profit up. That's an incentive to really push drivers to take more orders. If you underpay them, they're going to have to accept more rides per day to build up their goal for that day. That's why they do it. It truly is an exploitation of drivers. Right? But it is still criminal though. It is a criminal misuse of your most valuable resource. There is no DoorDash, there is no Postmates, there is no Uber Eats or Grubhub without your drivers. Now, as I mentioned before, drivers drive upwards of 100 miles a day, if not more. Now, when you're driving on high mileage, your car will need maintenance much more frequently than if you were simply commuting to and from a regular job, where you'd only be burning about 10, 15, 20 miles a day, no more than 30. So anyway, yeah, you're going to need, drivers are going to need to change their brakes and tires and oil, motor oil, fluid, brake fluid, and all those things far more often than if they were running a regular commute. But if they are not being paid a sustainable wage, they're not going to have the money to maintain their car when their car is in need of maintenance, which means they can't work no more. If they do not have the money to maintain their car, then therefore they cannot work anymore. And what happens if they're pushing their car beyond the limits, trying to make the money to fix the very car that they're pushing, but the car breaks down, totally breaks down, before they are able to raise those funds? What then? Then they're stuck at home and they can't work through no fault of their own, and they're independent contractors. That means that they're not eligible to receive unemployment because they're independent contractors. Now, as a part of the CARES Act, they were allowing drivers who were directly impacted by COVID-19 to file for unemployment. But your car breaking down for a lack of maintenance is not directly related to COVID-19. It is not related. Therefore, and then to lie and perjure yourself on a legal government document, that's fraud. So you can't say that you have been impacted by COVID-19 when you were not. So you can't work, you can't collect unemployment, you have kids, you have bills to pay, and there's no money coming in. Imagine a scenario where that was the reality. Car broken down, you can't work, can't get unemployment. You're screwed. Listen to me. Think twice about signing up for these gigs. By the time you're done maintaining your car, you're probably left with far fewer dollars than you did when you were in there, when you were going in. It is a faulty investment if you leave with less money to no money than what you had going in. It is a very faulty investment. But they're going to lie to you and tell you you can make it work, you can be successful. No, you can't. Unless, of course, you vote no on Prop 22 and gain the benefits of being an employee. So at the very least, you can collect unemployment and be good until you can figure it out as a way to bridge you towards your next job or business venture. But to take on a faulty investment and be left with less money than what you went in there with, and to not have any kind of support and to be really and truly ultimately screwed, if that ever happens to you, the only option you have left is to sue the company that exploited you. That is the only way to get any kind of compensation if that should happen to you. Find a lawyer the fuck up, explain your situation, put your story on the record, and yes, there are indeed real scenarios of people who are going through that right now. Put your email, if that is you, put your story on the record, make your story known as the example as to why California should vote no on Prop 22. Lawyer up and sue that exploitative, greedy bastard company that ruined you, literally ruined you. Exploited you and ruined you. It is a thankless job. It's a bad buy. It's a bad compromise. Don't buy that deal. Don't let them push that deal on you. Don't let them sell you that bad, rotten deal. It is a bad buy. Don't buy it. Think about something else you can maybe do that is not going to put a strain on your car and have you running on high mileage. Think about working from home. Paying a flat rate for Wi-Fi to work from home is more cost effective than the maintenance work on the very limited functionality of a high mileage vehicle. Think about that. And based on the scenario I described to you, this is your reason, if no other reason, to definitely vote no on Prop 22 so that drivers can have support if they're unable to work due to their car failing on them and them not having the money to repair the car. They need to first of all be paid a livable wage that they can afford to maintain a high mileage car in the first place. Right? And just in case they can't anyways, at least they'd have unemployment to bridge them to the next opportunity, or at the very least, to grant them the funds they need to fix their car so they can get back to work. That's the only way this gig economy is going to work, because until something drastic changes, this gig economy bullshit fucking deal they sold to you, it's not going to last much longer. It's not going to survive the 20s. It's probably going to be another 3 or 5 years before they lock this whole thing down altogether. Right? Even if they vote yes on Prop 22, that would only be a temporary benefit for those companies who are pushing the agenda. Ultimately, people are going to stop driving for them when they realize that they're being screwed. They're going to stop driving for them. They're not going to have drivers. They're going to lose their most valuable resource. And with no one to deliver food for them, to their customers for them, they are going to go bankrupt and shut the fuck down like they should. So either way, if they want to be stubborn and exploitive, that's on them. But either way, they're going down. It's either they do the right thing or they will be boycotted. They'll be the next victims of cancel culture. So it's up to them how they want this to go down. Do the right thing. Stop exploiting people. Stop exploiting people, or you will be the next victims of cancel culture. That is my ultimatum to these companies. Vote no on Prop 22 on Election Day, Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020. And with that said, next week's topic: make hay while the sun shines. I hope you'll join me then. I am Mr. Franklin. This has been Frank and Upfront.